What up, y'all? This is your boy Juro. It is Friday, August the 18th, 19th, 2016. How is everybody doing? It is bright and early in the morning, y'all. Yes, it is. It ain't even 8 o'clock. And I just got in and on the way, watching the sun come up. You know, I do a lot of, it seems like every time whenever I'm either in water or if I'm driving, do a lot of thinking. And get a lot of insight and clarity from that. I hope that you can hear this. Make sure this volume's up. Sure. But this video, this video today is going to be just a perspective. I'm going to throw this disclaimer out now. There might be some things that, for the faint of hearing, you know, you might not like, and you're entitled to it, just as everybody's entitled to their opinion. But I've noticed something. Seems like the last 5 years, but it seems like even more so now, because we are in a pivotal season where you have President Obama transitioning shortly thereof. We're starting to see a lot of things go on, a lot of things that may have been hidden, or maybe people just felt that they didn't have the backing to speak upon. And I'm gonna be honest with you, which is the only way I can be. It's got me concerned. It's got me concerned for a couple reasons. Because it seems like socially and economically, it's like we're being put in a big filter, you know, like a sifter. You know, I always convey God has you in the sifting room, and he's sifting out your impurities because he wants the best you to walk on this planet, because you have a purpose. That's why you're here. You don't think you're actually here just to eat, take up space, take in oxygen. Nah, you're here on assignment. You do understand that, right? And until you get back to you, you're delaying it from being fulfilled. Now, is it me, or does it seem like the demographics of how we want to see people, it is being put in review, but it's more driven because of financial gain? I learned at a young age that true manipulation of someone who can pull the strings can have something occur, dictate it, and also persuade the outcome too. And it is very obvious that corporations have more influence than our own government. No, this is not a political rant. This is just a perspective. because it's got me concerned, y'all. Because for those who are in their 40s, realistically, you got less than 50 years on this planet, and you're done. Not to sound bleak. Some don't even have that. Some of y'all not even gonna make it in the next 5 years. Some might be blessed to see the next 25. So it's very important, y'all, that if you ain't put in the work to solidify your legacy, because guess what? See, this right here, this is gonna live forever. This right here is gonna live forever because in a server, in a town near you, in the city near you, in the state near you, there are thousands of these archives that have snapshots of your existence, and the generations to come will use those as templates to educate themselves on the things not to do and the things to protect. And they're going to be using these things that they see illustrated. You know, just like how we look at a lot of the vintage uh, uh, filmography of the 1800s, like, damn, look, you know, they're going to be doing the same thing with us. Yeah, that's real talk. But it is so blatantly obvious, y'all, that those who have compared to those who do not, those who do not are at risk. There is undue rest. There's always turmoil. And those who have do not take accountability. Because usually 9 times out of 10, it is a derivative of choices made from them. But you know what's gotten me frightened though? Is the generation now. They call them millennials. I'm very fearful for this generation because they're not going to be prepared. They're not going to be emotionally equipped. Now, yes, from a scholastic and point of view, they will be very savvy. But the tools of survival won't be found on your laptop. They'll be forged by your integrity. They'll be molded by your character. And it'll be defended by your disposition. You know, in 2016, you know, there are still grown adults that don't even know how to make a grilled cheese sandwich, don't know how to wash their clothes, don't know how to fold a bed, that do not have the basic life skills needed. You know what that sets you up to do? It sets you up to become a victim, but it also sets you up to be a homeless. Because if God forbid that you were to lose any of your financial assets, if society did away with banks, how would you survive? A lot of you would fall prey to just voluntary indentured servitude. I know somebody said, well, that ain't no different, Gerald, because that's called a job. Yeah, but the difference is you go home, you do receive wages. They might not be what you're worth in your mind. That's why knowledge is power. That's why it's your responsibility to educate yourself. Another part of your responsibility is to cultivate your common sense. Do you realize how many people have passed away before their time in the last 5 years? They said that when you calculate the deaths, untimely deaths, you could have four major wars. And out of that percentage are under the age of 30. That's pretty sad. Because, see, guess what? Those are like bullet holes in your family tree. Because that's someone's story, that's someone's wisdom, that's someone's gift that was stopped from growing. So that's going to leave an impact. That's going to cause a void. That's going to cause a delay that should not be. Oh, you sitting over there contemplating about killing yourself? Are you serious? It's easier for you to sit up here and contemplate suicide, but yet you won't spend a fraction of that on admitting that you need to love yourself. Why is that? I'll tell you why, because the devil's all up in that. The devil wants you to exploit yourself. That's right. I want you to do the work I need you to do. That's his position is. And then I'm gonna destroy you. That's what he thinks. No accountability. Full of manipulation. That's why it's important that you love yourself. That's why it's important that you be vulnerable to yourself. No one's going to know your potential. How about your dreams and the investment to make them a reality better than you? No one. You can't sit up and say, well, I was going to be this and do that, and I didn't have the support. You know what happened to the number one support failure? It was you, because you gave up on it. Your life is not supposed to be the guy at work saying, well, you know, I used to hit threes from the parking lot. That was the man. You gave up on your dream. You settled for your reality. That's why when you hear people say, there's a will, there's a way. I totally agree with that. But see, we've gotten so arrogant as a society, as a populace, as a people, as a family member, that we will snub our nose on something without even doing the research on it. I'm saying, I remember there was a time that when I was a kid, and at that time we lived down in Georgia, and I was always my own man. And first started with my mom. You know, we would go and walk a stretch of the road to pick up the cans, and take them to the recycling center to get money for them. Kids don't do that nowadays. I remember when I think I was 11, 12 years old. I was that kid pushing that lawnmower, a three-wheeled lawnmower. That's right. You're supposed to have four. I had three. But I also had a string of houses that I cut because my dad taught me the importance of ethics and being on time and your word. See, those things somehow they have fallen on deaf ears, y'all. And what's going on now? Have you noticed you don't hear people talking about teen pregnancy like they used to? Yeah, they put false stats and say it's going down, Gerald. Yes, but so is education. And that's what really concerned me too, because I saw this 5 years ago. I saw I remember the day when they had the audacity to put on the news that they were cutting the educational budget by $740 million. I knew right then and there they were setting up a hardship that was going to take a long time to fix. Because think about it. That money goes into your school district. It goes into your programs. What about those substitute teachers that actually give a damn about what they do, that want to educate your children? You do understand the teachers spend more time with your children than you. You know who else gets the other percentage of your time? The peers that your children hang with. Mm-hmm. That's right. Fix your mouth. That's why when you hear about little Johnny getting arrested, and you always see this, that's not my baby. Johnny ain't like that. You know what? That is Johnny, but you wouldn't know that because you don't spend time invested in your child's life. Your patience is thin. And to pacify him, you throw him a game controller, feed him or give him a bunch of food, and then you wonder why he's obese. You wonder why he's got medical issues of a 60-year-old, but he ain't 15. Why? Because we're failing our young, y'all. And our young are going to be the ones that are going to fail us when we become elderly. Do you not see the correlation in that? Another thing is we're not being truthful how we feel. We're doing all this covert stuff. Yes, but I don't know why. Because God told us whatever's done in the dark, it comes to the light. It's a matter of time. That's why it doesn't serve you to lie. Look at look at Ryan Locke right now. Told a lie. Little did he know that he was in a city that is ranked in the top 5 in the world with the most surveillance. Never thought them cameras was going to be on him. Well, see, I already know how that played out because I saw this in the military a long time ago. You got some people that, because they think that they're away from home, they think they can act a certain way because of that red, white, and blue. And the rest of the world is supposed to take a bended knee because you're their guest. Notice, you're their guest. They live there. It's no different than that stranger coming into your house. You ain't going to have them act a nut and not hold them accountable. And what happened? He got up out of there, didn't he? Mm-hmm. First of all, if you had nothing to hide, why you dip so quick? Kind of ironic, huh? But you left your boys. You left your boys to put their feet in the fire. But I tip my hat because one of them refused to be swayed and told the truth. I wish I knew who that was because that person is the one that had the integrity. The other two were nothing but followers. And I commend that. I commend that athlete. But you see it all the time. You see that all the time in the military. Cats come over for a deployment, come to your base, and they act a fool. Then they go out, they go off base, and then what happens? You hear about there's an incident. Usually 9 times out of 10, they get beat up, get lumped up, only to make it back to the base licking their wounds, because we're guests to that country. You're not, because you got a passport, don't give you a pass. So this is going to play out. I'll be surprised that the embassies get involved. They'll probably end up paying a fine. There'll be some paperwork, and he'll dip, and he won't go down there for a while, just till it cools down. See, it doesn't benefit you to tell a lie. That's why I always tell everybody what I always say: speak your truth. You know why you speak your truth? You don't speak your truth for them. You speak it for yourself, because it comes from you. That is the quickest snapshot of who you are, is what you say. Who am I talking to? But see, I see a lot of people now, they're going through their seasons now. You're starting to see people for who they really are. And it got you feeling a certain kind of way now, don't it? Because the fact that they gave you a bad flyer, or you didn't read the small print, and now what you're really forced to deal with is to undo the alliances or the agreements that you had initially based off that first hello. Who am I talking to? I bet you a nickel to a dime, if you knew what you knew now, then you would run now, wouldn't you? You would. Yes, you would. You would be going over the hill. I know I'm talking to somebody. It's like, I ain't know that, Gerald. I ain't know. If I knew this person had all this back, I would have, Nah. Not trying to be mean, but you are required to be you. Excuse me, y'all. Because nobody can live your beautiful life. I want you to know that. You're not supposed to be on this planet suffering. But until you decide to be honest with yourself, and that's the hardest thing to do. Because to be honest with yourself, that means you got to admit to yourself you got flaws. You got imperfections. You got things that you have to master. That's why I always say to each and every one of you, why are you running to jump in the next relationship when you don't have a relationship with yourself? Is it because the fact that silently that you have issues of being alone? The age, every year, you scratch off another year, and you're thinking you're running out of time. Maybe, just maybe, what you're not doing, or what you fail to see, is you're getting closer and closer to the people that are supposed to be intended in your life. I mean, come on, think about it. I know some of y'all have got your war wounds emotionally. I got that. And I know some of y'all have been dealt a bad hand. I got that too. How long are you going to hold on to that hand? How long are you going to allow what was dealt to dictate where you're going? Because nobody wins on that. It doesn't serve you to delay your life. What are you afraid of? Your life is not the greatest math problem to be figured out. It's not. What's required is you to be vulnerable and honest with yourself first. And guess what? when you do that, your reality will actually do the same. Why are you doing time with them? You know they're miserable. You know you're not supposed to be with them, but you just linked up on them anyway. Like two bumps on the log. Who am I talking to? You can't just live off of sex. You can't. And there's more to you than your backside too. But this is not what this conversation is about. Man, if you were here, y'all, I give you a cup of this coffee. This coffee's on point. It's banging. But what's got me afraid is that it is obvious there is a dumbing down going on in our society. It's like they're trying to make it seem like being the I'm trying to pick my words correctly. It's like they want to make it cool to shuck and jive. You know what I'm saying? It's like to be taken serious, you got to be the comic relief. And that's all you're going to be. Or you got to be the entertainment. And they expect you to play your position. Don't you understand when you choose to not be the best you will spend more energy trying to correct a perception. Who am I talking to? You only interact with these people because when they want to hang out, they hang out with you. Or when they want to go out, they call you up. Or when they want to go buy something, they call you. That's a disservice, y'all. That's a disservice. And why does it seem like nowadays, when you talk about spirituality in any regard, you get an instantaneous division. Like, wham, don't go there. That's taboo. Because what's going on is you have a lot of demons working, y'all. And that's like showing high noon to a vampire, so to speak. They don't want to see the truth. They don't want you to see the truth. And they don't want you to see the truth because they enjoy where you are. But see, they don't have the fortitude to tell the truth. They're not going to come out their mouth and tell you, hey, you know what? I know I caused all this drama and everything, but I like using you. You're a good means of distraction. That's why you're feeling all this kickback right now. That's why you're feeling all this resentment right now. That's why Queens, this is why you're angry. You know why you walk around and it doesn't serve you to have all that bottled up pain. You know what that does? It ages you. That's why you're getting those crow's feet. That's why you're getting those mouse feet on your eyes and you're wrinkling up. And guess what? There's somebody sitting in the cut saying, here you go. I got this little bottle right here. And if you take this, it'll make it go away. You do know that you are inadvertently killing yourself slow. You understand that, right? Those using that botulism, that ain't nothing but straight up poison. So what do you expect? You're killing yourself slow for an effect. You want to get rid of those crow's feet? Hmm? Why don't you change it up? Why don't you change the diet up? How about why don't you get a true regimen of drinking your water? How about take your vitamins? How about cut those negative ass people out of your life? I know I'm talking to somebody. You putting up with unnecessary bullshit because of what? Because he can get you off? Because he makes your butt cheeks feel like a bongo on a hot Sunday? But it feels like to have him in your life is like wearing a 50-pound backpack? First of all, let me get this straight because I love each and every one of you. You're not his mother. He's not your child. So why are you doing childish things? And how can you grow with someone who refuses not to grow? And let's get this correct too, my queen, so because I'm really getting tired of seeing this. Stop using your pain to project onto other people. And this was what I'm saying. You see this all the time. You see this woman doing this, right? But she ain't saying nothing, but she's doing this. That is passion. That what comes out is anger. She's angry because where her life is, but she refuses to admit it to herself. Who am I talking to? Do you realize until you submit back to you? I'm talking about that little girl, that little boy that lives inside you. Listen, because you get older doesn't mean the little 5-year-old is dead. Because it ain't. You're not. That's who you are. It just means the shell is a little bit stronger. But see, I know y'all got bad flyers too, because you got just as much as you have men telling men, well, you know what? If she don't do what you tell her to do, you strong arm her. First of all, as a man, if you got to put any kind of restraint on that woman to get her to walk with you, she's not the one. I don't care how big her ass is, how supple her breasts are, what she can do behind closed doors. None of that matters when your ass is sick. None of it. None of that matters when you've been knocked down. None of that matters. I ain't never seen somebody say, well, you know what, baby, we're going to get this eviction number. So maybe if you go ahead and twerk at the door, we can stay. It don't matter. None of that matters. But society has convinced us that, no, the things that we should scratch our head and question, we don't. That's why I told y'all long ago. I told y'all this. You get no respect in bad behavior. You don't get no respect no more there because you don't respect yourself. So why are you there? That man is not going to marry you. He's still married. Hello? That's why when I see you, my young queens, my young women, because you're not a queen, because a queen respects herself. She knows who she is. She's vulnerable to who she is. And she don't sacrifice her dreams just to have someone as a companion. But you know what defines a queen? She has a relationship with God first. So if you don't have a relationship with God, you're just a typical woman. And typical people get typical actions. You're not supposed to be feeling like you're doing time. Mm-mm. Uh-uh. If you are, listen, how can you have peace of mind when you got to worry about what you said or who you seen with or what you did? You're not at peace. That's not freedom. Freedom is a state of mind. You know why? Because your spirit is free. That is the most precious commodity you will ever possess. It also is the ink to your story that is being played out every time you take a breath. Come on. I remember I had someone tell me one time, I think I shared this with y'all. I had this conversation with this woman, and she told me, she said, the true definition of a relationship is pain. And I looked at her like she had just been birthed from a rock, because I was like, I did not understand the logic behind that. So, of course, I asked why she said that. And she said, because if there's no struggle, the struggle is what defines the relationship. And I said, no, because the person that's supposed to be in your life is supposed to protect you from the struggle. And then she was like, well, okay, well, what I mean, Gerald, is he ain't gonna put up with my bullshit. Red flag. Why do you have to bring bullshit to be in a relationship? That right there should tell you that ain't where you should be. So really, when you think about it, that's karmic. That's a lesson, not a blessing. And unfortunately, I don't know if y'all noticed this, because they kind of swept it under the social radar. Are y'all, I don't know if y'all realize there has been, if I'm correct, 15, at least 15 examples of parents killing their children. In the minority community, there has been 9. You just had one last week. June and July, you had 5. What's wrong, y'all? We're killing our young. It's sad. But see, I kind of understand why. There's no excuse for that. But I understand that a lot of it is a derivative of failure, of us protecting and teaching those who going to come from behind us. Men, You can't sit up here and complain about women when you ain't holding it down yourself. What did I tell you? Because you got something swinging between your legs, don't give you a pass. What you should be protecting most is the name on your back. She can't get pregnant without you. I know I pissed off a lot of feminists because a lot of feminists believe that they don't need a man to have a baby. But guess what? You don't produce semen. So you need to accept that. That's no different than going to Walmart and buying it from the shelf. Tough. Get over it. You're not a man. But and that's the byproduct that we're seeing now, because you have a lot of people that saying, well, that's an injustice, Gerald. I should have equality. You're not going to have equality. You don't reward bad behavior. You don't. And anything that tries to come from that is mutated. It's not blessed. I don't care how hard you try. And I had gotten someone gave me a nasty gram the other day, and it was like, you're always on this spiritual tip. What do you call me? You call me a Jesus freak. I don't care. And, he was like, don't you realize that we're in the most technological age ever, that man can do this and man can do that? And I responded, I said, you do know that man cannot master forever. We're so technologically advanced, but we do not know the cure to the common cold. Huh? No. Because these people, no matter how intelligent they are, still have overlooked one thing. God makes it possible. He gives you the option. He gives you free will to choose. That's why he's a jealous and loving God. Doesn't matter what your economic status is. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who you know. Doesn't matter who you laying with. And it doesn't matter who you break bread with, too. Doesn't matter. Because guess what? You can't take it with you. Don't believe me? We wouldn't have, why we got so many junkyards out there? Why is it we got so many consignment stores? We know them as Big Lots or Ollie's, or, you know what I'm saying? In a town near you, in a city near you, in a state near you. Guess what? This is nothing but stuff. It has no value unless you claim it. So why won't you claim you? You got all that energy to do this, but you won't apply it to yourself. Why? Don't you realize no matter how hard you try to run, you're going to end up coming right back where you started? Know why? Because you got to fix that. You have to own that. You can't, look, think of it this way. If you've got a burden, right? You know that burden that you know exists, right? Yeah, that one. That you knew that if anybody knew about that, you would not be able to lift your face. That one, the one that you secretly terrified, the note that if it came out you'd be embarrassed. That one. You know why it's there? Because you continue to give it life, and you continue to run from it. And every time that you run from it, by not speaking on it, speaking your truth, guess what? It gets stronger. How many of y'all remember this movie back in the day that Oprah Winfrey and Danny Glover did? Some of y'all like, yeah, all right, Beloved. That was the whole symbolism of that movie. Even though her character's intent was to protect, the way she went about it as well as socially what was going on. That burden manifested into her psychosis. But what happened at the end? That same old lady that will walk by every day, mumbling, would finally ground her feet and stand in unison with like-minded folks to pray for her character. And what happened? That demon was removed. And then her character was made new. And then she started to live again. And some of y'all are going through that right now because you feel like nobody understands your plight. Nobody understands what you're going through. Let me bring you back home. You actually think you're the only person going through this? You think you have the patent on that pain? Do you? No. That's why you always hear people say this. There's always someone that's going through something far worse and would be willing to trade where you are for where they've been. That's why it's always good to be humble, y'all. That's why it's so good. It is imperative that you never give up on yourself. Never. Did you hear me? Don't give up. Don't worry about those people, because the people that love you are going to be there through it. They're going to be there. They might not be there physically, but they're there. And maybe they had to leave your side for you to see it for yourself. But they want the best for you. They want you to see you make it through the storm. That's why you don't give props to imitations. That's why I always use the analogy of the cubic zirconia. Because see, there's a lot of cubic zirconia people walking around, walking and talking and acting a certain way, just for false validation that you can't even set your watch to. If they would only take a step back and look into that mirror and see how beautiful they are, how precious they are, see the uniqueness of what makes you rare. Because see, what's going to happen, y'all? All those people that chose to systematically sit in those cheap seats, all those that wanted to follow their leader, I call them sheeple. What you're going to see is the more that you rely on you, the more that you focus on you, the more that you decide to love you, you're going to watch them indirectly go through things. Some things are going to be alarming. Some things are going to be a validation, because you're going to be like, I knew that's going to happen. I told them. They didn't listen. Who am I talking to? And you know why you're seeing it? It's validation to you indirectly of what could happen if you choose to stay on that path. See, nobody can make you do nothing you don't want to do, y'all. You do understand that, right? You got to sign off. You got to sign off on that. That's why there's a war going on for your mind, for your attention, for your direction. There's a war, man. It's been going on since the moment that you took your first breath. And that's why you've had people sprinkle through your life, and they're always there to attack your spirit, to tell you you ain't worth nothing, to tell you you ain't going to be nothing, to tear you down. So let's go back to that conversation I had earlier about the woman doing this, right? We're in a pandemic, y'all. You see a lot of women that are so torn, so broken, that their pride and ego has consumed their direction. And they have accepted what they think is their reality. And they angry. They angry. They angry. They're angry at the men. They're angry at their children. They're angry at their family, but they ain't angry enough to change. Why you over there belittling your son? Why are you just trying to tear down his self-esteem? You know what happens when a mother tears down her son's self-esteem over a period of time? Two things are going to happen. Either he's going to get to a point where he's waited you out long enough that he's going to run to the streets, or worse, he's going to run into the arms of someone that's going to violate him. It might be a controlling woman. It may be, unfortunately, God forbid, a man. Same thing happens to you, my queen. Y'all don't admit it. You don't admit it. They say the average female from the age of 17, they say 17 to 28 has been date raped at least twice. Who am I talking to? That's right. But what did you do? You allowed that man to have his way with him, but you didn't even know his middle name. You allowed that man to run up in you, to steal your strength. But you rationalized it like, well, it happened. Your life is not it happened. Your life is a blessing. And if you didn't give consent, and let me tell you something. I hear people say this too, because I've heard this perspective. Because I have to agree to it 1%, and I say 1% out of 100%, just one. Because it's just as I say, you have to sign off on things. There's a responsibility that must be upheld. That's why I kind of shake my head when I hear people, especially in the female community, that say, well, Gerald, I think there's a double standard. I think a woman should be able to wear whatever she wants to wear, when she wants to wear it, with whoever she wants to wear it. Okay. Legitimately, you're entitled to put on whatever you choose of garment to put on your body. However, you are a female. Are you omitting that fact? You can't wear certain things and expect that certain responses do not occur. Probability is where you go. The outcome depends on the environment. So does it surprise you, queens, when you wear that outfit that is very form-fitting, that celebrates your body, you attract Johns. Yeah, I call them Johns because I don't like using the word fools. Because a John is thinking primally. He don't care about where you're from. All he want looking at you as a means of release, what he can do to you, and strategically trying to figure out how he can do it. That's why you see this play out all the time. You always hear about someone taking advantage of someone else, either by social means or economic direction. That's why I always convey to you, my kings and queens, you get no respect because you were a sugar mama. You with her, you blowing her back out, but she's paying your bills. You're not a man. You got it twisted. And really, when you think about it, you're nothing but a tool that doesn't have a cord. Instead of her digging in that special drawer, she's letting you dig in her. And the moment that you decide not to do what she asks you to do, she's going to replace you. But let's not get this twisted. She already got a starting five waiting. She's already planted those seeds. It's just a matter of time when she gives the green light. Give me that green light. Yeah. No different, queen. That's why it doesn't behoove you to think like a man when you're not acting like a lady. Come on, think about it. Everybody wants to say, well, that's sexual empowerment, Gerald. Yeah, but guess what? You are burning your candle by both ends. Don't you realize stolen moments, secret rendezvous, deplete from the one? You want to know what heaven on earth is? Get back to knowing who you are. Why won't you have the connection you need to unlock the person that's going to unlock the other side of your life? Why are you so pressed to have that pain on the other side of your bed? Somebody's waking up right now, and you've been dealing with this for a long time, and you're like, I need to get you up out of here. And they frustrate you doing some reckless stuff, thinking that's gonna make them leave. No, they ain't going nowhere. They ain't going nowhere. You know why? Because they got you. They got you. And they got you at the lowest bid too. Now, this is not showing disrespect or shade. You want to break that tie? You ready to break it? Stop lying to yourself. How about you get back to praying? And I'm not talking about, well, I'm just going to appease and yada, yada. No. I mean, open your heart. You know that beautiful heart you got? Yeah, that. You need to get back in there, because guess what? Your dreams are in there. So is the keys to the direction of where you're headed. That's why you can't get caught up in your reality now. Let me tell you what. Y'all remember the passage? The scripture that said, those who are first shall be last, and those who are last shall be made first. You know why those people that are made first are going to be placed last? Because instead of putting God's principles first, they put their own agenda first. So that's God's way of saying, here's some hardship right here. No, you smelling yourself. Okay, well, take that with you. Work on that. Once you master that, I might. Now I'm gonna keep my eye on you. But when I think you're right, then we're gonna put you back where you needed to be all along. That's why some of y'all may be going through this right now. You feel like you are on an emotional treadmill. Huh? You're thinking you should have made 5 steps first, but you took 20 steps back off of a decision. Who am I talking to? Let me tell you something. First of all, the devil's in that. The devil has brought all these people in your life to brainwash you to think, to convince you to divorce yourself. And they're showing you desires. And you'll notice all these desires are the things that you entertained at one time. And you say, you know what? Maybe it's not that bad. That's a trick, y'all. That's a trick. That's called backsliding. That's what it is. See if you'll bite. But let me tell you something. I know deep down inside there's a lot of you. You just want to be loved. You want the love that you may have never gotten in your upbringing, and it's being demonstrated through your actions and behaviors in your adulthood. Who am I talking to? You 45 years old acting like you 15. You bed hopping like it's an Olympic sport. But yet you surprised you got to go see that doctor. Queen, what did I tell you? The man that's going to live out his days in your life, if he doesn't have a spiritual connection first, he don't have a connection with himself. So he can't forge one with you. You know why? Because he don't know where he's going. That's why he's not committed. That's why when you ask him something simple, like, what time should I expect you? That's a simple question. And he can't tell you that because he's caught up trying to figure out himself. Does that have a probability that he's spending his time with someone else? Possibly. Possibly. But that might not always be the case. Now, I will say this, and I've seen this time and time again, and it's so sad. But I'm going to tell you this from my mouth, from my spirit to you, female viewers. You're going to have to make a decision. Are you going to allow that man to lead you to your happiness? Or are you going to lead yourself? Because see, there is an emotional civil war going on where there are women out here that are telling other impressionable women, you don't need a man. You could do it by yourself. And even have turned around and shown illustrations of, well, look at me. I've got the car, I've got the house, I've got the resources. Now I will add the man. And what happens? It all falls apart. Now, I'm not saying to not invest in you. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is this. You cannot build a future by yourself and then add someone to it like the capstone. and expect it to stand the test of time. It won't work. It just won't. I'm going to tell you why. Because God didn't write it that way. And that is why we're seeing such a division in everything. Now, I know some of y'all going to be saying, well, Gerald, that's chauvinistic. No, I'm not. What I'm trying to tell you is this. How far do you think your life is going to go without God in it? Because what you have done thus far without God is the result of that. But here's the contradictory of it. The same women that say, I don't need a man, I'm Miss Independent. First of all, you're not independent because you're a human being, but you're a spiritual being first. Because guess what? The commonality is the connection amongst people. That's how knowledge is shared. What is knowledge if you don't share it? It's a waste. But what's funny is this. If you didn't need a man, why you got that drawer over there? Yeah. Got that drawer, got all them batteries in there. Doesn't matter how they make them. If it's not connected to a body, which that body is encased, that body has a heart in it, and that heart is not protected by a spirit, it matches that drawer because everything in that drawer is dead. But see, if you ask those women, and I'm not trying to make light of it, I'm not. But what I find ironic is the same women that are screaming, this empowerment, this false empowerment, they act like men. Sorry. This goes back to something that's always been evident. And people get mad, but it's the truth. If God wanted you to be a man, he would have made you one. He would have took your ovaries and flipped them and turned them into testicles. Doesn't matter how hard you try to strap it on or what color you buy it out of the store. It is not the real thing. But guess what? There's no love there. There's no love there. What's there is nothing but control. And a whole lot of denial. So that's when you got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, this is what I need. This is what I need to do. And I'm willing to get there. It's going to cost you. Because there are going to be people that you have in your life that share that same sentiment that you had previously, that you're going to be divided for. Because they're going to try to convince you, or more or less do this. Oh, you crazy. You're going through something. Don't you realize misery loves company? Do you understand that? Misery is filled with a room of brokenness. And you guess who's sitting at the table? The devil. Yeah, of course. Don't believe me? Ask some feminists. Ask them. None of them believe in God. They believe in man. That's why they're too busy trying to act like one. But the funny thing is, when they come in contact with a man, the first thing they do is look at the ground. You know why? It is not to show superiority. What is being shown is truth. And you know what comes out of that truth? Shame, reluctancy, disappointment, delay. And then you see this from time to time. You see that woman that was waving the flag. She waving that flag, boy. The next thing you know, time progressed. She married. She got children. She's a mother. That's her husband. And she's made new. And those people that knew her back then are scratching their head like, what happened? Why'd you do that? Because she finally was able to admit to herself that she deserved to be loved. See, Sheila always show you a good time. Oh yeah, yeah. Ain't you know? And I learned this at a very young age. You know, a woman told me that was a lesbian. Beautiful girl, beautiful girl. She said, Gerald, there's no better touch than from a woman because a woman knows what a woman needs. And I didn't understand that. I didn't. I was 20. Yeah, I was like 20. I was, you know, and I was very naive to uh, the lesbian lifestyle. I knew nothing about it. You know, I knew what it was to be homosexual. You know, but what I couldn't understand about with that was even with the guys that claimed to be gay, they were ultra feminine. They were more feminine than the women. And that just made me scratch my head. But looking back then compared to now, you look at women that are claiming to be lesbians, try to act harder than the dudes, which I think is kind of funny because the first moment, when the woman tries to stick her chest up towards a guy, and then the guy turns around and pops her in the face, the little girl comes out, which could have been totally avoided. But Queen, when you're playing with anatomy, guess what? You're going to lose. You're going to lose. That's why you see a lot of women nowadays, unfortunately, they think, well, I can't beat his brawn, but I can break his mind. If I can get his mind, I can get his heart. If I get his heart, I have him. And you see this play out all the time. Back to that conversation with that woman. And, you know, the things that this woman was saying to this man, I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. And I don't have any enemies. But then I had to also look at it in hindsight. See, she wouldn't have been able to do that unless that man was already broken emotionally too. And so all she was doing was keeping the wounds fresh. But what he failed to do was to see his value and worth, to respect himself. You have some people that believe that you gotta do whatever you need to do to be with somebody. And if that means that you gotta take whatever you can get, let me tell you something. You might as well be hurting yourself. You're not on this planet to be abused. You're on this planet to be celebrated, to be honored, to be empowered, to be inspired. That's why there's no benefit, my kings. If you have somebody in your life and you gotta pretty much lead them by the nose and get them to do anything that should, you're not supposed to be with them, man. Because the people that deserve to have your time, they're gonna walk with you. They're not gonna put you in harm's way. They're gonna always inspire you to be the best you. If she's only coming around so she can undo your belt loop, but she's never around when you need validation, you don't need to be with her. Because guess what? She don't plan on being with you. So let me get off that soapbox. So look what's going on, y'all. We've got two people for selection for the highest position in the land. We've got cataclysmic weather all over the nation. We've got financial occurrences that are going to make rich people broke and people that are not financially healthy are going to be going through some serious times. And that's the reason why I turned around and titled this video, The Ant and the Grasshopper. For some of y'all that never heard of that story, this was a childhood story about an ant and a grasshopper. And I'm going to ad-lib it and make it quick. There were two insects sitting out in the field. One was an ant and one was a grasshopper. The sun was shining and the grasshopper was hopping around and playing. One day the grasshopper came upon the ant and asked the ant would he join him enjoying the weather and would he would play with him. The ant was at the time was scurrying around picking up seeds, and without hesitation the ant would say, "Not right now." So the grasshopper was enjoying the sun and playing around. Time went on. The ant would continue what it's doing. The grasshopper would find its way back to the ant at a later time. Say, "Hey, why won't you play with me? The sun's out. It's a beautiful day." The ant didn't even look up. It just only would continue what it was doing and say, "Not right now." The grasshopper would just keep on going and enjoying his day. Time progressed some more. Eventually, the seasons changed, and a snow came upon the area that they were at. In the snow, buried, was a little burrow. In that burrow was that ant with his seeds, with his food, and the grasshopper dead. The moral of the story is this: the grasshopper didn't take advantage of his time. And because the grasshopper did not take advantage of its time, time did not take advantage of him. And it cost him his life. He ended up becoming the food for the ant, because the ant No matter what was going on, it did not stop. That's your life. Your life is always about constant preparation. You may be in that season where celebration is nowhere to be seen, but determination is what's guiding your steps. You may be in a position where you're about to make a pivotal decision that is going to empower and change your life forever. You're going to have plenty of grasshoppers hopping around you. They're going to be like, come on, let's go to the club. Come on, let's go to this concert. Come on, let's go do this right here. Stay on point. I don't know who this needs to go to. Validation. Stay on point on what you're doing. Because what's going to happen is they're going to stop calling. They're going to stop coming around. And they're going to continue to be playing. And when that time comes, when the work is done, you'll get to celebrate. You'll get to enjoy the fruits of your harvest. Meanwhile, as you walk on by, I got a feeling somebody's preparing to buy a car. I got to buy a new vehicle. I got this feeling they're getting ready to invest into a car or a vehicle that they wanted. Maybe it's a house or whatever. Something that you wanted for a very, very long time. And it's coming. It's coming. Stick to the script. Don't worry. Do not worry about who has your attention. Just make sure that you stay focused and know who's got your direction. Place God first. As long as you place God first, guess what? Everything that is intended to happen is going to be revealed in the intended time. Don't rush nothing. Take the stopwatch out of your life. Maybe this is the time that you finally have the courage to finally be vulnerable to you. How about heal those wounds that you've been carrying since your childhood? Huh? How about that? Maybe this is the time that you finally are able to forgive yourself for some choices you made. Maybe there's some bridges that you burned. Maybe this is the time you can finally admit to yourself you were wrong. How about apologize? How about apologize to yourself? How about heal those wounds with your children if you're a parent? How about this is the time where you say, well, you know what? I have gone beyond the expectancy of this job. And you know now it's time for you to take the steps to get that job that you truly deserve. Maybe relocate if need be. It's all in God's hands. But it cannot manifest until you decide to have, you got to first have that conversation with him. Just like I'm having this conversation with you right now. That's all he asks. He don't want this person. He don't want you to think. Don't overthink the conversation. Talk. You can open your mouth and spill it out, but if that's what you got to do it. Find a place where you feel emotionally safe and have that conversation with God. It's long overdue. And watch what he shows you. More importantly, watch what he protects you from. Because I got a feeling some of y'all are going to get some news and you're going to be like, man, I was supposed to go out there that day. And you realize that if you had went out there, you would have been placed in harm's way. That's what the devil does. See, the devil loves to paint a pretty picture, but the paint is made out of pain. That's why the devil's a liar. And you deserve to have all the blessings intended with your name. But nobody can do that but you. So have the courage to have that conversation and come back home to where you rightfully belong. That's you. God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me discern mine. Y'all, we are witnessing some serious division amongst society. There's so many lines going down, so many, I'm with this, I'm with that, I'm with this, I do that, you do this, I don't do that, blah, blah, blah. But where's God in all that? Ask yourself that. If someone poses a question in that, ask yourself that. Is this what God wants? Will God want me to do that? And then answer it. And watch what he shows you. Have a blessed weekend, y'all. Remember, always place God first in everything you do. Can't go wrong. Be blessed.